That's crazy. That's crazy. Why would you say it like that? Why would you say it like that? What a wild thing to say. Also, he thinks he can like hit this on a partisan angle and be like, oh, this is just a hoax. When it's like, well, okay, you said the hoax over and over again. You were saying that this wasn't a hoax before you got elected. Now that you're in charge, like all of a sudden it's a hoax. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, let's get to Epstein. Speaking of Israel, let's get back to Trump. Jeffrey Jebediah Epstein and our big, beautiful boy, Donald Trump, who is seemingly very upset that people keep asking about Epstein. People keep asking about Epstein. Okay. Do you feel like this is a distraction from Epstein? No. Here's another effort post from Donald Trump on Truth Social. It reads as follows. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had nothing to do with Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. He's trying so hard to make fetch happen, bro. This is so funny. He's like, come on, guys. It's the new hoax. Trust me on this. Okay? Yeah, we're all calling it that. Everyone's calling it behind the scenes. You're calling it that too. You're calling it that. And if you're not calling it, you're bad. You're wrong. Okay? And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit. Ooh, he's being bad. Hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, which everyone is calling it that. Everyone is calling it the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. If I see you calling it something else, I'll get very mad. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. It is pretty funny that he hasn't been able to figure out a way to like get out of this narrative hole. Okay. And as a consequence of that, he's even losing like Tim Pool, which is a Israel and Russia crony. But I guess Tim Pool also knows which way the wind is blowing, or maybe he didn't get his notes from the Israeli state. Once he gets his notes from the Israeli state, perhaps he will change his tune. Ukraine is the enemy of the world.
Trump is miserably screwing this up. Unless for some reason this was his intent, this one's hurting the Trump team, his base, very much so. You're not going to get out of this one with Trump supporters, prominent individuals being like, guys, let's just trust the plan here. That ain't happening. And there are ways to handle this, and this ain't it. With this massive post by Trump, it's getting bad.
I love what a chatter said about getting a taste of Democratic medicine where the base gets nothing they want. And even now, we see the same. Now Republicans saying, stop spoiling. Just be happy with what you have. Yeah. Peak Alex Jones here. Oh, hell yeah. Alex Jones responds to Trump excommunicating him. You're not the Pope, bro. Wait, where is it?
About 50. A jellyfish has a higher IQ, in case you didn't know, than 50. Some of the 50 IQ can barely form words. It's a no-brainer, Trump, that you want this to go away because you know they've spiked the file. I believe it. That makes sense. God, it's totally intuitive. There it is.
He's still trying to glaze Trump. Is so funny. He's like, Donald Trump is trying to excommunicate me for being a brave truth info warrior, but it's all right. I know that Donald Trump, Mr. President, was not involved directly in this. Okay, AlexJones.com, Infowars.com.
I'm bad for saying you should stop telling people to shut up. Again, you're 10 years old. Your parents are going to church. They say you don't have to go today. And they say, whatever you do, don't go look in the Chester drawers in front of the bed. My parents never did that. It's just hypothetical. Where are you going as soon as your car drives off? You're going to see what's in there. I mean, this is sick. This is bizarre. And I will not take the blame, Trump, for what you're doing to yourself. So, I know you tried to take the alcohol away from your older brother, who was a great guy, who drank himself to death.
Ooh.
Were you a bad person?
Ooh, he's getting personal with it.
Telling your brother he was killing himself? No. Your brother got mad at you. You talked about it.
That's crazy. He's talking about Trump's alcoholic brother who died. God damn, it's getting spicy over here, brother. Holy moly.
I am trying to get you to take the political gun out of your mouth. You already blown both your feet off. And now you got it shoved in your mouth. I'm like, will you please take that out of your mouth? You're like, shut up. Don't talk about it. You have put the gun in your mouth and ours collectively. Stop it. Stop it.
You're up the bag for us, Mr. President. Why are you doing this? Dude, this is like cinema, okay? This is cinema. It's playing out exactly as I said it is. There is like this is the first time where there's like a real, genuine fissure in the base, and Trump cannot consolidate support for the life of him. And basically, this is where you find out who is like a hatchet man for the Republican base, or for the Republican Party, and of course it's Trump's party, so Donald Trump, and who is more invested in leaning into narratives that the majority cares about. In the past, we didn't really get to experience this kind of fissure amongst the quote unquote supposedly independent media outlets, with the exception of, I guess, Israel, because Ben Shapiro's dick riding of Israel definitely got out of hand. And it pissed off a lot of people, but in the Republican base. But outside of that, usually Trump gives everything in the culture war stuff, in the culture war side of things, to his base. He always gives them the treats. So no one in the independent side of the Republican media apparatus has ever had trouble saying that they're independent while simultaneously defending Trump. This is a moment where he's not doing that. He's actually directly at odds with the popular support from the base of the Republican Party, from the MAGA base. So you're recognizing who is actually a loyal servant of Trump, and by extension, the Republican Party, and who is more so invested in repeating whatever the base wants. Alex Jones is in the middle. On the one hand, he is still desperately trying to cling on to Donald Trump. On the other hand, he recognizes what the people want, what his audience wants, what the base is demanding. And at this point, they'll still talk about how big of a failure this is for Trump, like how he's it up, how he's this up. It's just a mistake. But eventually this is going to boil. Eventually this kind of tension is going to lead to people actually separating from Donald Trump aggressively. And these are some of the most insane people, okay? These are some of the craziest people out there. They have an arsenal of weapons, and they believe in whatever kind of conspiracy, some real and some totally insane and fake. You don't want to piss these off. Donald Trump has had numerous attempts on his life. 2 of those attempts were conducted by a registered Republican and a former Trump voter. Ryan Ruth, big time NATO Andy for sure, but literally was a former Trump voter. You don't want to piss these guys off. You don't want them to do a Pizzagate to you. Okay? I'd be very careful if I was like a famous Republican media personality that is aggressively defending Donald Trump here at a time when there is unprecedented anger and resentment directed at Trump. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You don't want Pizzagate to turn into Mar-a-Lago Gate. Let's take a look at what Megyn Kelly is saying on the other hand.
Trump has managed to call large portions of the MAGA base that are still interested in Epstein and want answers selfish, weaklings. He doesn't want their support and that they're believing in a Democrat-created hoax. Now, there's all sorts of, substantive responses to that on the Epstein merits, but I'm not interested in that for now. I'm interested in the politics of it, Rich.
Yeah. So he's in the phase he often is in when he's in the midst of these controversies. I think spaghetti against the wall phase, and then he'll see what sticks and then go with that. But I don't think it's a great idea to make the connection to the Russia hoax, which was about him. So this kind of implies that this also is about him. Right? I don't think it really is. And the idea that he doesn't know where this is coming from, and it was all created by Democrats, this has been more of a matter of interest for the right, including the highest officials in his Justice Department, right? Pam Bondi talked about it. Kash Patel talked about it. Bongino talked about it.
What we
Yep. He's basically, by the way, he's literally saying what I said yesterday, which is that he's pulling almost like an Israel route by not reading the room appropriately. This won't actually cause people in his base to go, oh, this is fake, just like the Russia hoax was fake. It will cause them to go, wait a minute, this is real. So does that mean the Russia hoax wasn't a hoax at all? I don't think that they'll make that logical leap, okay? But like, it's not working. My point is, it's not working because obviously this is a very important thing for a lot of people in his base, understandably so. This is the one time where they're like they're kind of on the money with this conspiracy. So when are you interviewing Lina Khan? I don't know if you know this, but I already have.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Why would you say it like that? Why would you say it like that? What a wild thing to say. Also, I mean, we already talked about this, but like, this was really funny. Guy who absolutely despises Donald Trump, an incredibly prominent critic of Donald Trump, only turns around and like speaks in favor of Trump to defend the Epstein client list, and it not existing. The Epstein client list is real. So is the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, says Stephen King. Prominent Trump critic Stephen King only comes out to say something that's like ostensibly pro-Trump when Trump's base is yelling at him over the Epstein list not being revealed. Then he goes, boy, I hit a nerve with that Epstein post. The list is like UFOs. Everyone knows someone who's seen one. Oh boy. Oh brother. Oh, how odd. Oh, no. Oh, no. What does that mean? I mean, I think I know what that means. If you know the ending of the book, it's not shocking. Did Epstein traffic young girls? Yes, of course. Is there a client list? Doubtful. Conspiracy fodder. He is still talking about it. That's weird, man. That's weird. Why are you... See, the thing I don't understand is like, these guys could just keep quiet. I mean, that's literally what the Clintons did, right? The Clintons just kept pushing. They never, you will never catch them talking about Epstein's unless it's directly talking to Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell in one of their numerous and I guess exciting experiences that they had together. Okay? I don't understand why these come out and they're like, guys, by the way, this thing that everyone knows is very real. This thing that everyone is broadly aware of. I just want everyone to know Yeah, it's fake. Actually, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Please stop asking further questions. Like at least the Clintons, who were directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, knew better than to constantly talk about it. To be fair, TrueAnon also says the client list is fake. Like he didn't keep a list. If there's one list, is a list of all the people on tape. Yes, the Jeffrey Epstein client list is basically just like, that's just semantics, okay? That is just a semantics argument. I don't engage in it because it's stupid. When you're talking about that, you're not talking literally that like Jeffrey Epstein had all of the clients and like what kind of underage person was trafficked with every single client on one neatly put together list. When people are talking about it, or at least when I'm talking about it, I'm referencing verifiable evidence of the people that we know have been directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein and to what extent their involvement was with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? That's what I'm referencing. No, the little black book is not the client list. Those are just people who he had the information of and has been in contact with. Okay? That's it. When people are looking for evidence, or when people are looking for like the client list, they're actually referencing like the extent of the involvement with people that we know of and people that we don't know of but suspect of being involved with Jeffrey Jebediah Epstein. Doors open. Kaya's back from her spa day. Lobo says Matt Gaze would be good as special counsel investigating the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, which I think is really interesting that she's saying that. I feel like he'd be the worst, but what do I know? Here is a reporter asking Trump straight out if he'll ask Pam Bondi to release more Epstein files.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and. All it is certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case I was surprised, but they got duped.
But have you talked about it? Have you talked about it with her the last witness?
President, first of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past. We've had.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. You know, we have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on. And, you know, it's very sad that somebody can be waylaid, that just get waylaid. But I think she's doing a great job, personally.
This morning,
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein Files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
It's not the Attorney General, no. I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters, and Comey before him. And
for those of you who are consistently asking the question, why wouldn't he just release a client list with like fake names on it and like implicate the Democrats? Because this is bipartisan, okay? Unlimited support to Israel is bipartisan, and billionaires doing getting involved in an elite pedophile sex trafficking ring is also bipartisan. So you can't just like the liberals involved without yourself. That's it. As I've said before, this is the mutual assured pedophilia, mutually assured destruction in the form of pedophilia and involvement with an elite pedophile sex trafficking ring. That's it. That's it. That's why he can't just like cynically say, oh, this is just the liberals, even though they did say it. They did say it over and over again, but not that this was even a factor, but it's not like his base would have believed it if it came out while Biden was president. That's not, I mean, it wouldn't have ever happened because of the things that I just mentioned, because everyone is involved in this, right? Liberals and specifically like liberal elites and also Republican elites. These guys, also the very same guys, fund both parties. It's not like they are truly on one side. Both parties, to a certain degree, represent their interests. And therefore, these guys will hedge their bets. These guys will fund both sides.
And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking.
He really thinks like hitting this line is gonna drum up support. Like it's as though, like, for example, here I'll give you areas where it could potentially pick apart some in the base. Like if he was talking about Israel, right? He can just like kind of get some of the people who are already like motivated to defend Israel in the most in the most pro-Israel part of his bases, like the evangelical Zionists specifically. He could always be like, yep, that's right. The Democrats, they're Palestinian. Chuck Schumer is Palestinian. They love Palestine. They love Hamas, right? Like he could do that, and then maybe some would be like, yeah, that's right, because like this is not that in the order of priority. Like Trump stopping wars is not as high as a priority as like the Epstein stuff is. Okay, this is directly something that he promised, and something that like many of his boosters promised, something that many of his boosters care about. Okay, and for him not to he thinks he can like hit this on a partisan angle and be like, oh, this is just a hoax, when it's like, well, okay, you said the hoax over and over again. You were saying that this wasn't a hoax before you got elected. Now that you're in charge, like all of a sudden it's a hoax. Get the f out of here.
Candidates that can get elected, like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman. Yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy.
The best part about it is that the more media asks him about this, the more he has to talk about it. And the more he talks about it and deflects away from it, the more people get angry and agitated in his base of support, especially.
Who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like Trump thinks his base is stupid.
Why'd they say?
Channel 4 is getting involved. Talking about Trump says Epstein case is a scam, lashing out at his supporters.
Thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit. Why'd they say that?
Right.
Didn't Pam Bondi say that?
We are going to try to get to the bottom of what's knowable now that they're telling us there's no there there. I mean, for me, that's just a red cape in front of a bull.
The MAGA movement in a civil war.
Ladies and gentlemen, our president.
Normally,
I love seeing the one thing that the Trump base does unironically and actively care about, to a degree where like they might even drop support of Trump over. Okay, respect. Like I'll take it. I'll take anything at this point.
Failingly loyal allies of President Trump, angry and suspicious of his backtracking.
Would you declassify the Epstein Files?
Yeah, Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
All right. I
Yeah,
guess I would. I think that less so because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
Now, after tantalizing his supporters throughout the campaign, he's changed his tune.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going.
Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, disagrees.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything.
Yeah, they voted to not release it, like himself included. The f do you mean? Oh, they should release it. Like, this is, again, a thing that people do actually legitimately care about, okay? Which is precisely the reason why when these guys actually do the Democratic Party move, because they're behaving like the Democrats. They're behaving exactly like the Democrats. Good things are not possible. The things that we ran on, it's not happening, okay? That's precisely what's happening here. And the base is like, what do you mean? This is the thing that you actually do. You don't do this kind of shit. This is why we trust you. This is why we believe you. What the hell's going on? Johnny MAGA. Riley Gaines says, was it stupid and foolish when he campaigned on releasing the files? Are Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Alina Habba all foolish and stupid for peddling this for the past 6 months? Why on earth is he doing this? I love this, man. I love this. God, I'm sorry. This is crack for me, okay? It's crack for me, not because, like, I love standing here and being like, I told you so. It's crack for me because I do think that this is like finally a real recognition amongst this like actual cult-like fandom that perhaps Trump is also deep in the pocket of elite pedophiles in the same way that every other administration has been. Perhaps this is a watershed moment for a lot of people to go, wait a minute. Wait, he's not different at all. He's just like them. There's endless potential in this kind of volatility for people to be corrected, to recognize that, like, this is actually, we are all united on class interests. Jank was right. No, Jank said this over wars, which I disagree with. I don't think that is it has caused a major fissure in the base. Nothing like the Epstein stuff. Come on. Come on, man. Come on now, man. Surely Trump is in the pocket of elite pedophiles. Surely he is their pocket, their change, their handler, all of the above. Yeah. Like, this is unique because, like, look, Republicans will make promises and they will make good on those promises. Now, the impact of that legislative agenda might be devastating in the long run, right? And people might realize that the things that they voted for, they might not enjoy or appreciate, like in the case of abortion, for example. We saw that play itself out. We're seeing that with the immigration raids that are taking place right now. A lot of people don't like it. And they're like, oh, I didn't vote for this. It's like, well, you did, right? But this is one of those things where, like, he has directly promised something and has all the power to release it, all the power to make good on that promise, and is refusing to do so in a way that is inviting a lot of suspicion with Trump's personal involvement. Because if he is an anti-establishment figure that many people voted for him on those boundaries, all of a sudden he comes across as maybe not an anti-establishment figure. Maybe he is the establishment. Because for a lot of these people, especially in the Trump base of support, they see, oh my God, my mom. Anne? Ben daha sonra gidiyorsun zannediyordum. Okay, for a lot of these people, this is perhaps the best way to spell whether you're with the establishment or against the establishment with the Trump shit, with the Epstein stuff. Epstein is seen as like a placeholder for class warfare. It's seen as like a thing that liberals do, or a thing that like elites in society do, mostly liberals from the perspective of the Trump base, obviously. And finally, this is supposed to be unearthed. Like, this is their only way of seeing some semblance of class warfare is basically through the lens of conspiracy. And of course, with respect to the Epstein stuff, it's not really a conspiracy theory so much as it is just a real conspiracy to do a blackmail operation for at the behest of intelligence agencies, including the Mossad and also the CIA. So this is a direct line of attack against like why someone who is like anti-establishment would vote for Donald Trump. All of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, you are pro-establishment then.
Out there and let the people decide it.
With even his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, unhappy.
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this.
But Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, isn't on board.
Not going to talk about Epstein.
A memo published by her Justice Department said they found no incriminating Epstein client list, despite Bondi herself claiming it existed in February.
And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
For Trump's often conspiracy-prone MAGA base, the confusion is sparking concern and consternation after Elon Musk alleged Trump himself was in the files, which would be unsurprising given the pair's long history. It's unclear when Trump first met Epstein, but in 2002, Trump told New York Magazine he was a terrific guy he'd known for 15 years, which would date back to the late 1980s. Video was discovered showing Epstein partying with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida in 1992. The pair watch and point at cheerleaders dancing. In the background of the video is Epstein's close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Throughout the 90s, Trump, Epstein and Maxwell attended parties together in New York and Palm Beach, where Epstein kept a residence, famously visited by Prince Andrew. Flight logs previously released by the Attorney General Pam Bondi showed Trump, his then-wife Marla Maples and daughter Tiffany frequently flew on Epstein's private jet. In Epstein's black book, 14 different numbers for Trump, his close family and staff were found. Epstein claimed that in 1998 he introduced Trump to his third wife Melania at a party in Manhattan. In that 2002 New Yorker magazine article, Trump famously described his friend as a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life.
Dude, I said this already when Bob Woodward was coming out with his like massive Epstein connection with Donald Trump is like way, way bigger than we previously thought, reporting right up until the election. And the Democrats were noticeably quiet about it. I knew why they were quiet about it, because of the Clintons, because of the goddamn Clintons. This, like, unironically, if this was a conversation alongside this exact same coverage was being shepherded by the Democrats, alongside Kamala Harris, like, making inroads with the pro-Palestinian movement, the election could have turned out very differently, straight up. But they didn't want to do it, obviously, because clearly it's their own donors are involved with Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't want to upset or offend their own donors that they love. Okay?
But in 2004, Trump and Epstein's relationship reportedly broke down over a Mar-a-Lago property deal. A year later, Florida police began investigating Epstein in relation to sex trafficking. In 2008, he was convicted but negotiated a plea deal granting him immunity from federal prosecution after pleading guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution. Ever since, Trump has sought to distance himself and downplay his relationship with Epstein. In 2019, Epstein was facing federal charges of sex trafficking minors when he died by suicide while in custody in New York.
Cap.
This week, questions have emerged over the integrity.
Under the Trump administration, by the way, under the watchful eye of the Trump administration, where he died under mysterious circumstances that the government quickly ruled as suicide. I don't believe that.
Of the CCTV around the time of his death. Dan Bongino, now Trump's deputy FBI director, was one of many right-wing influencers who made vast amounts of Epstein-related content.
Does it have anything to do with the extensive video network alleged to have existed on his island and on his plane?
He's reportedly angry at the administration's U-turn in releasing the files and has threatened to resign.
USA! USA!
For Trump, who benefited from fueling conspiracy theories like birtherism and QAnon in the past, he may be facing consequences himself with his base for having engaged in the Epstein speculation, given his own history.
Well, joining us now to discuss all this is Robert Topinka, Senior Lecturer at Birkbeck School of Creative Arts, Culture and Communication. Robert, why have the Epstein Files captured the imagination of MAGA?
Well, the Epstein Files have become this sort of respectable way for MAGA supporters to refer to the QAnon conspiracy theory and tap into the energy from that conspiracy theory, this idea.
Yeah, except unlike QAnon, this is not fake. That's the difference. Like with QAnon, this is the other side of like the liberal conversation here where they're like, haha, I told you so, right? Like if you, yeah, leopards eating your face, huh, Donald Trump? You like trafficked in a lot of conspiracies. So now look what the conspiracy crowd is doing to you. And it's like, it's not. This is not like a phony, insane conspiracy theory in the way that QAnon is. That's the difference. The night he died, we had to cancel a show with Chapo in Brooklyn because the venue flooded. There were cars floating down the street. It's all connected. Trump controlled the weather to cover up our truth. Oh, yeah. Trump didn't want you guys to do it.
Yeah, that Democrats were behind a corrupt system of child sex trafficking. Epstein became sort of the figurehead for that movement, came to be identified with that movement. And throughout the campaign, Trump officials, Trump himself, J.D. Vance, Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the...
I'm gonna be honest. I said this already. I didn't think that this was ever going to... I didn't think this was ever going to be released regardless, for the reasons why it's not being released right now, obviously, evidently. But the way that the liberals are trying to message and use this, I think they're doing it because they know it'll never be released. I think they know that Trump will never release this, like any sort of evidence that was unearthed and discovered. And that is precisely the reason why they can posture. That's why you have Kevin Spacey, Alan Dershowitz, people who are directly affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein, coming out and comfortably making these sorts of statements, knowing full well that Donald Trump is never going to release it. That's why the very same Democrats that never made a big deal about the Epstein Files when they were in charge are now using it as an opportunity to hit against the Trump administration, even though there is obviously this is the Democrats presenting this as a way to troll, quote unquote, the MAGA base is going to be short-lived. Look, scoop, internal Dems are polling from Blue Rose and Future Forward Memo explain why Dems are trolling GOP hard on Epstein. It's a way into maybe this guy doesn't have your back, and that's been one of the hardest things for Dems to do. But the opening may be short-lived. Democratic strategists said they do not expect Epstein-related conspiracies to show up in their TV ads or dominate the party's midterm messaging, with the GOP mega bill likely to take center stage. I'm focused on the damage that the one big bad bill is doing, and I'm going to stay focused on that, said Representative Brad Schneider, chair of the centrist New Democrat Coalition. And if the president is covering up something, I'll let him deal with that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to focus on the damage of the big bad bill, okay? I think that's a good thing because it's true. That bill is going to rip apart families. It's going to destroy the working class base of support that Trump has in rural communities. Okay. But there is no reason not to use this as well. And I think they're basically signaling that they're not going to, they're going to hit this line. Also pretty funny that they only finally went after Clinton associate because Shore's fuck ass firm said so. I imagine that being an unstoppable force versus an immovable object situation for them. The real big part of the story is that the FF/Blue Rose seemed to be dictating Dem messaging despite playing a leading role in the loss. Either the speculation that they'd lose clout was overblown, or the CYA stories about how they wanted to focus on the economy worked. You can do both, okay? You can have your cake and eat it too. You can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. They should not let go of the Epstein stuff, and they should actually push to release these files. Not only because it's like a cynical calculation to rip apart Trump's base and sever ties with as many people from the Trump's base as possible, but also because, simultaneously still talk about the big bad bill too. Wow, a rare Hasan W take. If you think this kind of take is rare, then you've only watched me through the lens of haters. I do love when people actually do come in like global events that they care about, where they come in and join the chat, and for the first time actually experience me without the negative lens that people oftentimes present me in. And then they go, oh, wow, I agree with this person. You will find yourself agreeing with a lot of the things that I'm saying if you actually come in and watch me directly, as opposed to watch me through 17-second clips that some weird ass clipped out of context. It was really funny when they were like, when a lot of people were like saying this about my pro-Palestinian position. They're like, I used to hate Hasan, but it turns out he's like rare Hasan W on Palestine. It's like, bro, I've been doing this since you were shitting in your diapers. Okay? Like, you watch everyone else. The difference, don't you think the difference between me, a content creator, and you, a content watcher, is that I might know these people sometimes personally? Think. I might know them personally. I might have had familial relationships with them. Exactly. That's so smug. But it's the truth. What do you mean? It comes across as smug, but it's literally the truth. Yes. The people that I am talking about that are like content creators that are clipping me out of context, sometimes I have a podcast with them in the past. Sometimes I've appeared on their podcast in the past as well. There's an entire ecosystem designed around presenting me in the most negative light possible, which is why I don't really get mad at people when they get too mad at people when they just have like a negative association with my name, because it's like, you're literally hate watching Trump every day. What are we talking about? Hate watching Trump? He's the president. Please stop thinking about things from the framework of slop tubers, dude. Holy, I'm hate watching the president, the most powerful person on the planet. Ironically enough, I don't just watch anti-Trump content. I watch Trump uninterrupted for hours at a time. And I also watch more pro-Trump content than I watch anti-Trump content. That's crazy. Anyway, President Trump campaigned on getting men out of women's sports, something you've built your entire brand off, and he delivered. He didn't mention Epstein one time at a campaign rally. Shameful how disloyal some people are. Oh, he didn't campaign on unearthing a deep state pedophiles. Got it. Thank you, Johnny Maga.
The FBI, when he was still hosting a podcast, relentlessly teased the release of the Epstein Files. They even had some MAGA influencers come to the White House to receive a binder that said Epstein Files Phase 1. So they've really teased it. They've really built it up. And now for Trump to say, I don't know why everyone is talking about this, let's move on, has sort of split the movement.
And we've seen in recent years, as you mentioned, conspiracies like QAnon and Pizzagate relating to children. They go very viral, preying on an understandable general concern for the welfare of minors. Have the Epstein Files just become a catch-all for this kind of sentiment, or is it to do with the sort of influence mechanism, ecosystem of generating content, which has really stirred all this up?
Well, I mean, it's really both. I mean, the Epstein story captures two of the big kind of themes of QAnon, which is child sex trafficking, which Epstein was himself engaged in, and the idea that Hollywood and Washington, D.C. elite are in on it. And certainly there have been, releases of names who Epstein was associated with, friends with, some of which may or may not have been, traveling to his island with him. But it brings together this idea that there's a kind of connection between Hollywood, D.C., and child sex trafficking. So Epstein captures those things together. And then because there have been so many kind of court reports, releases, incomplete information, it creates fodder for influencers online to sort of tease a new release, to say, oh, I have some insight into these files, to say someone needs to come along and reveal what's really behind all this. And Trump was promised to be the person who did that. So that's part of the betrayal now, with him saying, why is everyone talking about this all of a sudden?
So do you think Trump has created this problem for himself by incorporating their release into his campaign message last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a surprise. I mean, I think he could have kept teasing it, really, because some QAnon influencers are already saying, actually this is a sign that Trump is going to release the real files later, that these are just the files Obama left him and they've been doctored. People are alighting on the phrase Trump used in one of his Truth Social posts, referring to Epstein as a guy who never dies. And they're saying, oh, this is a sign that Epstein's really alive and that Trump can't tell us now, but he's going to tell us further down the line. So he could have kept doing that, I think. But with Pam Bondi repeatedly saying, oh, I have the list of Epstein's associates on my desk, I'm going to review it and release it. They got a little too specific with it, really, and saying that they were going to release the actual files and reveal all, and then to suddenly turn around and say, actually, nothing happened, there's nothing to see here. It's a tough look, but I do think some of the more committed MAGA faithful will find a way to spin it into the promise of a future revelation.
He has midterm elections next year. How big an issue could this be for him with his own base, given his close relationship with Epstein in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon has been worrying about this, Trump's former advisor, saying, what if we lose 10% of the MAGA base? That'd be enough to affect us at the midterms. You see people like Andrew Schultz, the comedian, who's kind of associated with the manosphere, and been one of these people, along with figures like Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, who have been credited with Trump's success in the last election. They're expressing disillusionment. So if he does lose some of these people who are not necessarily super committed MAGA supporters, but see Trump as someone who can stand outside the establishment and critique it and question it, if he loses that authenticity in the eyes of those supporters, it could hurt him, because I mean the margin of victory was not that massive in the last election, and he captured people who he didn't capture before, partly because he was seen as this kind of free-thinking outsider. So if he loses that status, it could really hurt the MAGA movement.
NPR called Epstein's involvement with Israel a conspiracy theory and anti-Semitic on Up First this morning. Oh my God. You don't understand, guys. You don't understand. Jeffrey Epstein and his affiliates like Ghislaine Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell's family, for example, being directly involved with multiple former Israeli prime ministers is a pure coincidence. It is totally, totally anti-Semitic to ask the question why former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak was routinely visiting Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion and trying to do the shittiest job of hiding his identity when frequenting the Jeffrey Epstein mansion in New York City, far after it was known that he was a sex trafficker of minors. Please do not ask this question. Okay, this is very, very, very anti-Semitic, deeply disturbing. Okay, deeply, deeply disturbing stuff.
And can the Democrats capitalize on this now at all, given the Republicans have peddled false conspiracies like birtherism with President Obama and the Clintons being violent criminals? Is this something they can weaponize now?
I think they could. I mean, so far they seem to be a little reluctant to do so. It seems like an obvious political win for them. But of course, Epstein had connections in the Democratic Party as well. They've also bungled previous attempts to attack Trump, the Russiagate scandal that Trump was able to turn against them. So I think there's some caution there because he was so successful referring to the Russia hoax, as he likes to call it. And again, he's bringing that up again as he tries to defend his decision not to release the Epstein files. So I think they have been burnt in the past by this, and they're still a bit disorganized and unsure how to respond to him. But it does seem like an obvious opportunity for them.
And do you think Trump might do something now to try and distract from this whole scandal?
Yeah, he is. I mean, and you can see his supporters taking up the lead on this. I mean, they've been flouting and Alligator Alcatraz, praising ICE, pointing to the auto pen scandal, as they describe it, with Joe Biden having used an auto pen to sign key documents. So they're definitely trying to shift the discussion to something else. And we'll see how successful it can be. I mean, right now there are still people who...
This morning, President Trump facing unprecedented criticism from some of his biggest supporters.
This has been the first fracture
And MAGA.
Over the Justice Department's handling of files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. For days, many on the right have been criticizing Attorney General Pam Bondi's decision not to release the files, but now high-profile figures, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, weighing in.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
And podcaster Joe Rogan, an influential Trump ally in the last election, mocking the administration's response.
Like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah. Bondi has said there are Epstein files, but concluded Epstein did not leave behind an incriminating client list and that he died by suicide in 2019 while awaiting trial.
Nothing to see here, folks. Also, here's the uninterrupted raw footage that we actually interrupted and edited in Premiere.
Contradicting right-wing conspiracy theories that he was murdered. Rogan criticizing Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel.
Kash Patel said there's nothing you're looking for. Oh, okay.
For his part, President Trump dismissing the interest.
He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is.
And after his daughter-in-law said there needs to be more transparency, I asked the president about her comment.
Do you agree with her, sir? The Attorney General's handled that very well.
He has stood by Bondi's judgment.
Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
Trump, like many celebrities, was seen with Epstein in the 90s, but later said they had a falling out, and by the time Epstein was arrested, that he had not spoken to him in 15 years. Asked about Bondi's review.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen.
The Attorney General yesterday deflecting questions about the controversy, but asked about those calling for change at the Justice Department.
I'm going to be here for as long as the president wants me here.
House Speaker Mike Johnson also signaled he'd support having Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell testify before Congress, saying he's for transparency. Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison for conspiring with Epstein. Her family is now speaking out, arguing she did not receive a fair trial and hoping the Supreme Court will hear her appeal. Savannah?
Gabe Gutierrez.
Bud Felt, after defending, calling himself a Nazi and taking ownership over the movement, today is still trying to actively defend the Trump administration. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Not enough, but the Dems are great at saying, yeah, you know, it didn't work out the first time, but just give us a chance and we'll make it better. This is why Trump is good. Even when you're pissed off about Epstein, he's not perfect, but when he's not perfect, he's still good. The problem with all these other...
Oh my God. Am I watching MSNBC explain harm reduction? Except this time, you're trying to explain harm reduction voting to a base that doesn't play by those rules at all and never has and never will, because their expectation is you're supposed to whip up panicked hysteria around certain narratives, and then you're supposed to actually capitalize on that by offering red meat. Like the example here, the example I use here is claiming that trans people represent like a real threat to the American public over and over again, only to, once you get into power, only to turn around and be like, actually, we can't, or capitalize, sorry. Did I say capitalize? What is, my brain is so busted, I'm sorry. Capitalize. It would be like if the Trump base, after telling everyone that, trans people represent like a grave threat to Western empire or whatever, and getting at least enough people in the base to believe this lie, if you were to turn around and be like, actually, we can't do anything about trans people. We can't even like stop the 40 trans athletes from participating in NCAA. Actually, it's good that trans people are still participating in sports and there's not anything that we could do about it. You know, sorry, sucks to suck. Yeah, the base would probably, I mean, and this is not even as important of a cause for Trump's base of support as is the Epstein stuff. Like, so the example I'm using is not even a direct analog here. Do you understand? They're used to getting treats. They're used to winning culture war issues. Okay? You don't get the promise and whip up hysteria on a really pivotal on a really pivotal issue such as this one for the base of support, only to turn around and be like, yeah, you don't get it. Good things aren't possible. Especially when everyone knows you do have a lot of power over releasing this information. Because this isn't something like I was going to end the wars and then not being able to deliver on ending the wars on day one. Okay? One, ending the wars is not that big of a deal for a lot in the base of support. And two, it's not entirely in your hands. Like, you can't just, end a foreign adversary's illegal incursion into Ukraine, right? You can't do that. You can't unilaterally decide it's over now. That's far more difficult. So people are most likely most likely going to be a lot more understanding of what your inability is to stop Russia's invasion into Ukraine.
Things that Dems do, they have to be perfect to work. So it's like capitalism. It can be frustrating and it can be prone to flaws, but it doesn't have to be perfect to make the world work.
I've been speaking to Coca-Cola about using real cane sugar in the Coke in the United States, and they've agreed to do so. I'd like to thank all of those in authority at Coca-Cola. This is very good move by them. You'll see. It's just better. Wow, cane sugar. I've totally forgot about the Epstein Files now. Yeah. Don't make perfect an enemy of the good is already a failure for the Democrats in terms of like galvanizing their base of support, in terms of bringing out the masses to go out and vote for you. It is going to be an even larger failure for the Republicans, because the Republicans have always said, yeah, harm reduction, dog. We are going to give you exactly what you want. And if you don't have anything that you can pay attention to, we'll make sure you find something to pay attention to. We'll whip up hysteria around, I don't know, undocumented migrants. Here is my queen, Jessica Tarkov, doing the Lord's work, saying 75% of Republicans want the files out there.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, and he will, by the way, be getting no credit for anything that any of you are excited about if he cannot sort out his answer on the Epstein Files.
But don't pretend to care about that.
Yeah.
But you're speaking on that from a political perspective, not a moral one, so it doesn't matter.
Of course it matters.
I actually am interested in it.
I'm interested
Jessica,
in...
You never brought it up for years.
That's not true.
Jessica, the polls are so boring.
Fine. How about the humans? Mike Flynn, you're a human. Charlie Kirk, you're a human. Steve Bannon, you're a human. They're all mad.
Now you're on their side. What a coincidence. She's now wants to know about Epstein now that Trump's in the office. Didn't care when Biden was there. What else do you care about? Who ran the presidency?
What?
Did you actually care who was running the White House when Joe was in office? Did you care about that?
This is such an incredible deflection.
No, it's not.
You brought up Epstein.
I'm showing you it's a pattern.
You brought up Epstein.
I'm talking about why this president is not doing a good job on everything from the border.
But you just said he
just closed the border permanently, Jessica.
Immigration policy. Go ahead.
You are
conflating.
No, Jessica. You are conflating legal with illegal.
They're so mad, bro. They're so mad. Oh my God. Oh, this is awesome.
Illegal. I get it, because he's winning on illegal. Doesn't work.
Okay. All right, up.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Leading us off from the White House. Thank you. And we began with the cracks in MAGA world growing deeper as President Trump insists it's time to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein.
I think, like, if the Democrats were to operate like Republicans, they'd be calling Trump a pedophile, sex criminal right now. And I'm I know why they won't do it, because partially because, like, their own donors are implicated in the Epstein shit. But the Republicans are shameless, and the Dems should be too. They should be like, yeah, release it, or you're a pedophile. Release the Epstein Files, or you're a pedophile, dude. Come on. You can use interesting techniques like pedophile sex trafficker says what? Like, you can say that real quick to have them go what? And be like, oh, got him. Many different techniques out there.
case. The calls for his administration to release its files on the notorious sex offender now moving from talk radio to the halls of Congress, with some of his biggest supporters, including the House Speaker, urging the president and his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to change course.
This has been the first fracture in MAGA, and we don't want this to happen anymore.
See, I told you this is a real fracture, bro. I told you this shit ain't going away. Many of you were like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is something that they'll forgive and forget. Like, they'll just focus on the next thing when the opportunity presents itself. And it's like, no, dude, no, this is like a major issue for a lot of people in the base.
Trump says he just doesn't get the hype now.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. Credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, NBC's senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen, and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid. Julie, House Speaker Mike Johnson, now the highest-ranking Republican to break with the president on this. What did he have to say?
Well, Johnson had a rare moment, extremely rare, actually. I can't think of a single other instance in which the speaker broke with the president on anything, but it goes to show you just how powerful, potent, and divisive this issue is within the very core of the MAGA base. Johnson, with conservative podcast host Benny Johnson, who kind of set up shop here in the Capitol, and lawmakers were able to just come through and talk and sit in these interviews, had damaging words, not so much for Pam Bondi, but in forcing this issue and kind of letting it.
Dude, boring is my favorite, like, right-wing. Boring is my favorite right-wing distraction term. Oh, you're boring, like Andrew Tate used against me when he was losing the argument. It's just boring. Nobody cares. Come on. Stop it. It's boring. Why does anybody care about this? Another kind of right-wing figure that used that deployed that term was my former podcast co-host, Ethan Klein. This is boring. It's boring. Stop it. Stop debating me on the terms of Israel-Palestine. Stop it. Nobody cares. I want this to be entertaining. Don't do it.
Bubble back up to the surface, wanting to see more of those files. Take a listen.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody.
That said, as you know, Anna, there's always a difference between what they say and what they do, and Johnson could support an effort to force the administration's hand here, and he didn't. So far yesterday, he did not support a procedural motion from Congressman Ro Khanna, now a bipartisan effort with Thomas Massie as well, to try and set up a vote in which the House would then, if passed, force the DOJ to release these files. Johnson didn't do that.
Do you think it's a power struggle within the ranks of the party? No, not at all. The party is unified under the banner of Trump. There is no, and they're also unified under the banner of protecting the interests of the super wealthy, this being one of those interests. The only like fissure that's taking place is within the base and the party itself. Just like the Democrats were unified under defending Israel, right? There were some people who were not on board with it, but like ultimately it was a big fissure amongst the base that saw what the Democrats were doing with Israel and didn't like it. Okay. And the same goes for the Republicans here. The party is completely on board with Donald Trump. It's just that the people are not on board with the way that Trump has mishandled. The people are not on board, and the network of like podcasts and shit that they've used up until this moment to galvanize the base, to whip up support, is, look, see, Breaking, a video is going viral showing JD Vance calling for the full Epstein list to be released on Theo Von's podcast. Hey, JD, what changed? Let's blast this everywhere before he tries to erase it. Theo Von says, yeah, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. I think they got the new marching orders from Israel. That's what changed.
Is the possibility.
Also, here's Hakeem Jeffries hitting those notes a little bit, which is not bad.
Now what we see is the possibility that there's a massive cover-up taking place within the Trump administration because there may be people on the Epstein list within the Epstein Files that Donald Trump is trying to protect who happen to be part of his billionaire cabal. And now what we see is the possibility that there's a massive cover-up taking place within the Trump administration because there may be people on,
I guess, AIPAC and the ADL and numerous other Israeli groups have not actually told Hakeem Jeffries to shut the fuck up about this because he's speaking out of turn here. He's even using the terms like billionaire, shadowy, cabal, dangerous, spicy rhetoric. How does he fumble this bag? I mean, so far, so good. So far, we shall see. Hasan Reactions, one of the best ones in the React channel.